Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages in the Cover Killer Nation, it's time for us to talk about a new album, something that is coming, something that'll be out, next Tuesday, June the 24th, I believe, is the date, 25th, I think, in the U.S., and there's a little something that we need to discuss. There's a little bit of weights and measures here, you know, little scales of justice, a little comparison point, because we're talking about Queensryche. We're talking not about the one with Douche Tate. We're talking about Queensryche with Todd La Torre. We're talking about Self-Titled. Now, if you have not heard about the Queensryche fiasco, and you haven't viewed my Frequency Unknown video, I recommend that you view that video. I'm going to get a link for you. I'm going to post it in the description box. That way each and every one of you can see that and laugh because that album sucked hairy donkey balls. Now with Todd La Torre, what Queensryche had at their disposal was somebody who was just as capable of a vocalist as Jeff Tate, if not a little bit more. I really consider this guy to almost be Jeff Tate in his late 80s, early 1990s form, even with a little bit of additional range that kind of reminded me a little bit of early Fates Warning, and probably for good reason. However, what I'm also seeing here as a huge plus, a huge bonus for this band is very, very simple. This is an organic record. This is one that was home-brewed by this band themselves, as opposed to having outside influence, an outside penman, any sort of outside ideal, and there is not somebody who is trying to take control of everything like a playground bully. There is nobody who is attempting to seize all control and dictate exactly what happens within this band. That is gone with this record. This is instead something where the members of Queensryche themselves, along with their newfound friend, Todd La Torre, are able to go in there and make one beast of an album. That's the hope. Now, there are some elements of fear that can really creep into you before you listen to a record of this nature. Consider the fact that over the course of the last couple Queensryche records with Jeff Tate, there was that outside influence, there was that outside pen, there was nothing that was really being, really skated onto the record by other members of the band, or at least not that much. So as a result of this, these are members that have had a lot of things that have been just laying around on hard drives, on computers, over the course of a number of years. And the problem with that is, while most of it was probably very, very good, or very, very, you could easily be gone to in order to rush an album and get something out there very, very quickly, like Jeff Tate did. Sometimes those have the ability, and they have the potential of sounding just as recycled as the year in which they were manufactured. Not to say that these riffs would not stand up as classics, just to say, however, that in a moment like this, where you need an album that really showcases the real fuck you by doing it musically, you really want something that is brand new, and that's exactly what we got. The members went in completely and totally fresh and wrote songs while in the studio. There is nothing used here that was perhaps saved in prior elements. There is nothing there that really is, an old idea turned new. This is instead something where they went in, they totally crafted this album in a process that you would actually craft an album with a full band, not with somebody trying to take control and making this a battle of ego. Now, this is a short album. This is only 35 minutes and 10 seconds in length. It spans 11 tracks. There are 2 instrumentals. The very creepy midnight lullaby kind of chimes as a portion, and that goes into A World Without, which is also, in essence, a little bit strange. But this is something that's also kind of cool for the atmosphere, because it adds to that mysterious dynamic that Queensryche was known for back in the day, back before everything seemed to become oversimplified douche rock, you know what I mean? And X2, the very first track, is also an instrumental, but this is kind of more of an introduction than anything else. Now, the first thing that you're going to note whenever you go to songs right at the front, the frontal part of the album with Where Dreams Go to Die and Spore, is just the reinvigoration that this band really, really, really seems to possess. The reinvigoration is apparent from the moment that you start listening to this stuff, and you immediately get transported to the early 1990s, to albums such as Rage for Order and Empire. Yeah, if you haven't dusted off the classic that is Empire in a long time, you might not even have to do it, because this is one that would fit beautifully within that time period of this band, only with a much more reinvigorated style, and tone. This is an album that really, in essence, has to captivate listeners with the idea and the concept of redemption, the idea and concept of we are Queensryche and we are the Queensryche of old that you remember, that you jammed out to, the one that you really, really loved, that went away for a while. And this is an album that really does spark that idea. It really sparks that feeling within a listener. Now, since this is a quick release, sometimes this can end up being really, really bad because it doesn't seem complete. But this album is one that does feel very complete. It feels like that the inception process all the way to the final pen of the penning of the notes onto the paper was all done very methodically and with a lot of care. And that's another positive that can be really termed here. Now, this is still, of course, progressive rock / classic rock Queensryche, so we have a lot of power riffs, we have a lot of great, great vocals. The vocals are just such a goddamn improvement over Tate. Tate is still capable, but Tate does not show his range as much anymore, and usually whenever he does, it's usually just done in a really, really off-putting way. I must say that. And it isn't just because I'm really grown to hate the guy. This is a guy that I used to consider one of my vocal heroes. It's just the truth. I mean, it's something that I myself have had to really face over the course of the past number of years. But Todd La Torre is just such a great, great vocalist, and this music that has been kind of has been crafted for these songs that he's singing on just enhances and illuminates that so much with such a great, great duality that it just makes the experience all the better. Now, is this album a stone cold classic 10 out of 10? No, it really isn't. This is one where this is a footstep in the right direction. This is where they kind of needed to be and what they needed to do. This is a comeback album. This is an album that needs to show that this footprint that is Queensryche has not completely dissolved from the sands of the music industry. It's not one that has been swept away by the ocean. It's instead one that still remains implanted and is one that is actually becoming even more of a force, not to mention also growing in size. This is an album that certainly spells comeback beautifully. It's one that also really does a much better job than Frequency Unknown in driving the point across that the name Queensryche belongs to these guys. It deserves to be in the hands of these members, not Geoff Tate. These guys will treat Queensryche and that name with the proper respect. In my opinion, if Geoff Tate were to get the name, he would just drive it into the ground, destroy it, and destroy with it one hell of a cannon of wonderful music, wonderful moments, and great memory. Instead, with this band right here, with this reinvigorated incarnation of Queensryche, we have ourselves true reinvigoration to the name Queensryche, true rebirth to the name Queensryche, reanimation to the very soul of the name. This is a great album. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Definitely a great redemption record. I like it a lot. I really do. And it's funny, too, because Geoff Tate was basically trying to say, fuck you, like that. This version right here, they did it with the music. In reality, and in the end, whenever you do that, weights and measures, checks and balances, scales of justice, that's the one that counts.